Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you tonight. Mr. Steve Elliott is here. Steve is a writer who's been producing for a little bit over a year now, I believe, a online journal put out by Village Voice magazines, one of the largest weekly publishers in the United States, if not the largest. It's called Toke of the Town at tokeofthetown.com. So he'll be here talking about his experiences over the past year. We have our musical duo here, Mr. Tim Pate and Jonathan Eder. How are you gentlemen tonight?
Good.
Excellent, thank you.
Great, great. So we'll be back to take your phone calls, play a few film clips, and give you the latest hemp news. But let's first bring out our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Right, tonight's Hemp News segment starts with a story out of Malaysia, thanks to Mr. Steve Elliott in Toke of the Town. 3 people, including one couple, were sentenced last Thursday to death by hanging by the High Court in Malaysia for trafficking 4.5 kilograms, just under 10 pounds of cannabis last year. Quote, according to the judge, death by hanging is the only sentence provided for offenses under Section 39B1 of the Dangerous Drugs Act of 1952, end quote, said Malaysian Judicial Commissioner Datuk Akhtar Tahir. He reports from Bernama, the official Malaysian national news agency. Tahir said the prosecution had proven a prima facie case against Abdul Wahab, who was 37, and a married couple, Shawal Hashim, who was also 37, and his wife, Suhana Kamarudin, 28. They reportedly shook their heads when the sentence was announced. According to Suhana, she shouted from the dock, "I'm not guilty. I have a child and promised to return," the young mother told the court. The 3 were charged with selling marijuana near a McDonald's restaurant in Malaysia at Gatung Sampah back on March 9, 2010. Unfortunately, Malaysia has a history of hanging 20 to 30 people every year solely for cannabis offenses. Out of Jerusalem in Israel, the active constituents in marijuana influence the cardiovascular system and hold promise in the management of certain cardiovascular diseases, including arrhythmia, or irregular heartbeat, and ischemia, according to a scientific review appearing in the journal Cardiovascular Therapeutics. Investigators at Hebrew University's Medical Center in Israel and Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston assessed preclinical data on cannabinoids and their role in various cardiovascular pathologies. They reported, quote, the endocannabinoid system has physiological role in the cardiovascular system. This system is involved in modulating cardiac inflammatory processes, maintaining hemodynamic homeostasis, and rhythm control. It is not surprising, therefore, that cannabinoids offer intervention opportunities to alter the course of cardiovascular diseases. Such is the case in ischemia, reperfusion injuries, where there's evidence that activating the cannabinoid system may prevent injuries in arrhythmia. Such is the case in the rhythm control mechanism, where a few studies indicate potential anti-arrhythmic properties for cannabinoids, and such is the case in heart failure, end quote. The authors concluded, quote, the evidence of a potential role for cannabinoids in various cardiovascular pathologies, together with the safety data gleaned from various human intervention studies, indicate that now is the time to show efficacy across species and continue toward human trials, end quote. The full text of this study, the potential for clinical use of cannabinoids in treatment of cardiovascular diseases, appears in the journal Cardiovascular Therapeutics. Our next story is out of Montana from the Gazette State Bureau in Billings. The Montana House Human Services Committee voted today 10-5 to repeal Montana's 2004 voter-passed bill legalizing the use of medical marijuana. All of the committee's 10 Republicans voted for House Bill 161, led by Speaker of the House Mike Milburn, a Republican. All 5 Democrats opposed it. The bill now heads to the House floor for a debate Tuesday, barring any last-minute scheduling changes. According to House Speaker Milburn, he said, quote, "I'm pleased to see the Human Services Committee supports this incredibly important bill, and I look forward to it passing the full House of Representatives next week," end quote. The sharply divided committee debated the bill for less than a half hour before voting. Representative Carrie Smith, a Republican from Billings, said, quote, "This is an initiative that's gone horribly wrong," end quote. This is not what the people voted for. Smith said he was appointed to serve on an ad hoc committee by the Billings City Council to deal with the consequences of the explosive growth of medical marijuana in Montana in recent years. The city of Billings has faced problems with medical marijuana storefronts located in front of schools and churches, according to this representative. He says, quote, "We need to turn this thing off and start over." As of December 2010, more than 27,000 people in Montana, a state of little under 1 million people, have been authorized to use medical marijuana, an increase of 20,000 cardholders from December 2009. Representative Pat Noonan, a Democrat from Butte, opposed the bill. He said, quote, "I have a rule that I don't vote against anything that's been voted on by the voters. If we really want to repeal it, I think the voters should do it," end quote. In 2004, Montana voters passed the initiative by 62% to 38%. Our next story tonight is from the Associated Press in San Francisco. The top federal prosecutor in Northern California has warned Oakland officials that large-scale marijuana farms licensed by the city would violate U.S. law and could lead to a crackdown on growers and their backers. The warning, in a letter from U.S. Attorney Melinda Haag, offered the first clear signal that the U.S. Justice Department would not tolerate even city-sanctioned growing operations, despite the Obama administration's hands-off approach to states that have legalized medical marijuana. So according to Haag, in that letter, she wrote, quote, "The Justice Department's concerned about Oakland's ordinance creation of a licensing scheme that permits large-scale industrial marijuana cultivation and manufacturing, as it authorizes conduct contrary to federal law." Haag wrote that. The U.S. Attorney wrote it in a letter to Oakland City Attorney John Russo, dated last Tuesday. Russo spokesman Alan Katz declined to comment on Haag's letter, but said Russo was planning to draft amendments to Oakland's medical marijuana regulations to address cultivation issues. Those would likely be brought before the Oakland City Council in the next few weeks, he said. The Oakland City Council had asked Russo to seek guidance from federal authorities, even as the council in December put the application process for growers' licenses on hold, following a warning from the Alameda County District Attorney that the city's ordinance also likely violated state law. We have one last story tonight, and that is out of Denver. I can find it here. From the Denver Post, Denver City Council members reached a tentative compromise Monday over what to do with medical marijuana growing facilities that aren't located where they're supposed to be. The city of Denver estimates as many as 50 growing facilities are in areas that it was okay to be in when they opened, but not after the zoning changed. Some Denver City Council members wanted those facilities to move. Others wanted them grandfathered in. The compromise allows the facilities to remain in place for 2 years, after which they'll have to go to a public hearing to decide whether they can stay. The resolution was hashed out by the Denver City Council President, Chris Nevitt, and Councilwoman Judy Monteiro, who offered the competing proposals. That's the end of our hemp news segment tonight. We'll jump over to our musical duo, Mr. Tim Pate and Jonathan Eater. How are you, gentlemen?
I'm fine. And you?
Very well, very well.
Very good. Well, that was a lot of news. I think I'm letting it stir around in my head. It sounds like those people up in Montana are fighting about a lot of things. I hope they get it all settled out.
Well, it's come out of committee, but you just never know how it's going to end up, through the whole legislative process. That's just the first step.
That is, and it's the same thing's going on here in Oregon. There's some things that have been thrown at the legislature this year through the legislators, and we always have to be vigilant. You never know what's going to pop out at us at any time.
That's right.
It's just the way it works. You ready to play a little music? All right.
Tim Pate and Jonathan Eder. We are taking your phone calls tonight, so if you have a question for us, you can call us at that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. I'd like to welcome our guest to the show. Welcome, Mr. Steve Elliott. How are you tonight, Steve?
I'm great, Paul. I'm glad to be here.
Tim Pate.
Hey, Tim.
Good to see
Pleasure
you.
to meet you.
Let's wave across Tim here. Anyway,
where's your show out of? Where do you?
well, he doesn't do a show. You do a column. You're a writer primarily,
I do a
right?
website for Village Voice Media, and started up in November 2009. Been going 14 months now. I got the chance because I was already doing a little bit of work for Village Voice on the SF Weekly. I did a twice-weekly cannabis column for them, and that turned into the offer to do Talk of the Town. Of course, when that opportunity came along, I was glad to take it. It's a great job. I get to write about my favorite subject every day, all day long. Right. And so far, it's been going great. It is up to about 500,000 hits a month now, so that's good, and it seems to be growing all the time. And of course, when
yeah, that's a lot of hits. That ranks you right up there in what, like the top? Well, I don't know, what is it? 50,000 sites, something like that.
I'm right at about 40,000 right now.
40,000.
Yeah, so that for a 14-month-old site,
that's amazingly well.
That's not too bad. And of course, that kind of thing leads to other things. When they gave me the chance to like fling open that gate and put all the information I could through there, I definitely wanted to go for it, because what we need is more of the truth out there. That is the only thing that is going to change this war against marijuana, is the truth. We do have that on our side. I mean, they have the prison industrial complex, they have a vast propaganda machine, and they have 75 years of prejudice on their side. But that is nothing when it comes up against the facts and the truth that we definitely have working for us. Yeah. One of the things that has happened as a result of Talk of the Town is that the Village Voice chain up until now has had only one paid pot critic in the entire network, and that's been a guy named William Breathes.
In Denver.
At Denver Westward. And of course, he got a lot of coverage when he started.
He's only been there about a year, though, right?
About a year is right. Well, and I guess this is the announcement because it hasn't really been talked about anywhere yet, so I'll say it now. The second pot critic for Village Voice will be me, and I'll be starting with a column next week in Seattle Weekly.
All right.
So that's another great thing to be excited about, and that'll be a chance also to get information out there. One of the things I've been impressed about with Village Voice is they have never told me that I can't say anything. They've never told me that I can't put anything I want out there. And of course, you don't abuse a privilege like that. You use it to the best of your ability and to get all the facts and the truth about cannabis out there. And of course, each time that one door opens, that can often lead to another one. And now there is a publishing company out of New York that has had me do a little introductory type of book called The Little Black Book of Marijuana. And that is part of a series of little black books that they have. They, up until this point, they have done subjects like wine, beer, chocolate, and it's little gift books. And marijuana has become mainstream enough now that their next one will be about marijuana.
Can you say who the publisher of that is?
Peter Pauper Press, upstate New York. That'll be coming out this spring. I don't have an exact publication date, but the book is finished, and it's at the publisher now. It's a short book. It's about a 20,000 word book, and they told me, okay, cover the entire history of marijuana from the beginning, and you got 20,000 words in 2 months.
Right.
So
With pictures.
It has a few pictures in it too. It has some nice bud pictures. We knew we couldn't do a respectable pot book without some good bud pictures.
That's it.
And thanks to some excellent photographers, there's a dispensary photographer from San Francisco named Kim Kemp. And there is an up-and-coming photographer that I expect great things from in Seattle named Linda Finkel. They both have some work in this book, and very impressive work and some very impressive herbs.
Good.
All right. Well, I want to congratulate you on your success, and we'll be taking a few phone calls now. We have a caller who's been standing by. Welcome to our show, caller.
Hello, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Great. Paul, I met you at the KushCon in Denver on Sunday. And
that was a big event there in the Denver Convention Center, right in the center of downtown Denver.
Oh, yeah. And anyway, my question for you was, I was wondering what a book you might recommend for cannabis knowledge as far as its chemistry and history and so on, that would be, really educational as far as, that be able to have a good grasp of what constituents and things are the healing process of the cannabis plant. And I was just wondering, what you might recommend out there. I know there's a lot of different books, but one that might come to mind for you.
Sure. For cultivating cannabis, I always recommend Jorge Cervantes' Marijuana Horticulture book. He's got some other books out there, but he talks about a lot of the chemical constituents and how to grow specifically to meet certain needs. But then for the history, there are several books out there. Probably one of the best is Ernest Abel's Marijuana, the First 12,000 Years. It's short, it's sweet, it's right to the point, and it outlines the history of cannabis in detail. Of course, another great one is Jack Herer's The Emperor Wears No Clothes. That has been compiled into an authoritative compendium of a lot of different information. So those are three I'd start with.
Okay, great. All right. So, also, I was wondering, have you heard of the Denver's Greenway University and their program, and what do you think of it?
I have heard of it, but I don't know enough about it to really comment. I mean, there are a lot of universities out there, and of course the most famous being the Oaksterdam series in Oakland, but they've also been in other parts of the country, including Michigan. Then there's right here in Portland, Portlandsterdam. There's an article about some of the people behind that in Willamette Week a couple of weeks ago. I haven't heard anything bad about the Greenway. I've only heard good things about them. Let me put it that way.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Paul.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for your call. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Fort Collins. My name is Houghton. I met you, like I said, Sunday at the KushCon too.
Great. Well, it's good I'm glad to hear you calling. Keep watching.
All right. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Thank
Driven
you.
through Fort Collins more than once.
Me too.
It's on the other side of the mountains from here. All the way.
The industry's booming there in Colorado. There's been a
Yes, it
boom
is.
and a bust.
Yes.
So there've been a fallout in a number of the dispensaries. They've gone from a high of 1,100 plus dispensaries down to between 650 and 850. I've heard varying numbers.
Yeah, just like anything there, they've had a learning curve there, and they're figuring
That's
out
true.
how to manage it all.
If you're out there and you have a question or comment for any of us here on the panel, including Mr. Steve Elliott with Toke of the Town. That's tokeofthetown.com, right?
That's it.
So
Tokeofthetown.com.
tokeofthetown.com. And that's you're putting at least a half dozen stories and up to like 10 a day on there, right?
Wow.
I usually run 5 or 6 a day. If I put up 6 and something else happens, I'm not going to miss out on it. So
Sure.
sometime there are more than that. I stay pretty busy with it.
What do you use as sources?
All over. I comb the web, and of course, once I've gotten started, people have started giving me tips.
Right.
They'll email me. Like some people have been in unfortunate situations with the law, and they'll email me about that. I've been able to bring some attention, which is very rewarding, to cases like that.
So you're open to people, feeding you information.
Absolutely. Tokeofthetown@gmail.com. Email me.
There you go.
All right, we have a question from a studio audience member here. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Paul. I want to thank you all for leading the charge for this. A couple of things
you.
I've noticed. I read something about San Francisco changing their zoning so they would allow them to have dispensaries in commercial area or industrial areas, which I thought was a cool thing.
Yeah.
Another thing I noticed on the news the other day that the police are going to have to start doing UAs.
I heard about that here in Portland. The Portland police are going to
Random
submit
drug
to
tests for the police department.
How do you
Your
think that's
analysis
going to work out?
I don't know. Probably just about as ineptly and tragically as it works out for most of the rest of Americans.
Bingo. Well said.
And
Exactly. I
so
agree with you.
I unfortunately our country's gone from being a land of the free to being a land of the pee, and the European countries are amazed at how we have to submit to this kind of intrusive checking of our bodily fluids.
Yes.
But I think it's a shame. If you're out there and you have a question or comment for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4448. And we do have a caller standing by. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello,
How you doing?
caller.
There you are.
Someone answer me.
Yep,
It is. So did you have a question?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
I'm curious to see or what you guys' thoughts are on the legalization of marijuana and if that passes, how that could boost economic growth.
Gee, I think it would, we create lots of new hemp industries for everything from biofuel to paper and building materials and food products like this one here I just found on the store shelves a couple of days ago that we'll talk a little bit more about. It's going to cause an economic boom, and I believe, the real reason for marijuana prohibition, it's not about drugs, it's really about money and the centralization of economic and political control. And when we legalize marijuana and restore industrial hemp, we'll see a realignment of our political system, and the whole petrochemical paradigm will fall to the wayside as we focus on sustainable technologies.
I agree with that.
Well, thank you.
And I have another question for you.
Okay.
Could you teach me how to roll a blunt?
I don't teach those things anymore. I mainly use my vaporizer nowadays.
I was going to say, he's not a blunt man anymore.
But I can roll a joint. The blunts, you got to have the tobacco in there too. The blunt
That's
means
part
you're
of it.
using the
Yeah.
tobacco skin.
Last time I got offered a blunt, I refused because I was like, I didn't want to smoke tobacco again because I quit a year ago. So it was like, I stay away from them now.
I think
And usually they come pre-rolled. That's what the deal with blunts is. They're pre-rolled packaged blunts anymore. There are a lot of companies that produce those. So
The tubes.
yeah, the tubes, absolutely. So it's if you have to roll your blunt, you're in the wrong army.
I think on your next show you guys should roll a blunt.
Okay. We'll take that
All
under
right, I love you
consideration.
guys.
Maybe
Go
we'll have a
marijuana.
video roll-in of rolling
Thank
a
you.
blunt.
Cannabis, indica, and sativa. Rock on.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks for your call. If you're out there and you have a question for us, you can call us at 288-4448. You can also watch us on the internet at ustream.tv. That's obviously how the people, the gentleman there in Fort Collins, Colorado, had watched and seen this. So if you're out there, you can text in some questions as well.
Let me ask you, the Village Voice, where did it originate? Do you know?
New York City.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Are you talking
Greenwich
about
Village.
the Greenwich Village? Okay,
Those
then
are the guys. They
that's,
turned into
excellent.
a nationwide chain, and
Okay.
it's about 20 alternative weeklies, they call them. Plus, I believe it's 4 national blogs, one of which is Toke of the Town. They have True Crime Report, which is another one of the national blogs, and there's 4 of those altogether.
Most excellent. Because that's had a high. I mean, I'm a journalist. I have undergraduate degrees in journalism, and the Village Voice has always had a high reputation for its its avant-garde journalism. Quite frankly, they will look at things that other newspapers wouldn't, just because of their position in the marketplace. And so I'm glad to see them doing this. This is good.
And when you look back at history, they were one of the first papers that was willing to talk about the injustices of marijuana prohibition.
Yeah, I've read histories of the newspaper business in New York City, and because the New York City's newspaper business has long and interesting histories.
It does.
And the Village Voice plays a role in it, it's significant over the last 100 years. So I'm glad to see that.
I've really got to give them credit
I do
for
too.
the editorial freedom they've allowed me. There has never been a story that they've complained about.
That's what you said, and that's impressive.
And that's the way I like it.
Well, I hope that they continue that, because there's plenty of news out there that we cover that we don't even have time to cover all the stories that are really out there.
Well, you're doing, like you said, 5 or 6 a day, so you're talking 35 to 40 a week at least, and so
things are changing so fast that
I can't do more than 3 or 4, at the most 5 or 6. You know?
It just the ground is shifting beneath our feet, and
it is.
What we're seeing right now is the end of prohibition. Right now, the ONDCP, the DEA, really the whole drug prohibition complex doesn't realize it yet, but they've lost. The type of things that we're seeing are the death throes of that big dumb monster, that big dinosaur of drug prohibition. Those death throes can be dangerous, of course. If you were next to a dying dinosaur and it was
like Freddie Lepp,
convulsing on the ground.
Prison in Lompoc, California, for federal charges, and Roger Christie, who'd never been arrested for anything before, is being held without bail since last July 8th, simply for a marijuana crime.
And
they say he's a danger to his community, first-time offender.
Chris Barkowitz just started his 5-year federal sentence for what he believed was illegal medical marijuana grow
out in Colorado.
So, I mean, you've got to watch when something as big and dumb as the drug war is dying. It's gonna do some damage to a lot of people's lives, and you've got
about
to
800,000 people a year just for
absolutely.
marijuana alone.
Like the warning we got
this.
this.
The United States alone doesn't even count those 3.
That's true.
People that you wrote about in your paper
That are about to lose their lives.
Exactly. That's the urgency behind the whole struggle against the drug war, is because every day that we delay, that's another day that things like that.
The control room wants us to really rush this roll-in. We have a roll-in we're going to go with, and we'll be back in just a second. So enjoy.
I heard this is probably all SIDS and we're getting busted, but I don't care.
Shotgun.
What's happening here is also happening to some extent at virtually every other American installation in Vietnam. Recent surveys estimate that well over 50% of the soldiers in Vietnam use marijuana.
You get really stoned. Then, who cares about the war? This war.
It is time for an honest look at the problem of order in the United States. So I pledge to you, we shall have order in the United States.
Manipulating the fears of what he termed the silent majority, Richard Nixon built his campaign for the presidency around an emotionally charged central issue, restoring law and order. And it worked. As president, Nixon was determined to be seen as the toughest crime fighter ever. But most crimes fell under state jurisdiction, so Nixon wasn't allowed to get involved. However, there was one area where the federal government did have power: drug crime. Early in his first term, Nixon launched Operation Intercept, a military-style exercise officially described as the country's largest peacetime search and seizure operation. In it, 2,000 customs agents were deployed along the Mexican border. Their orders: stop the marijuana.
This is the biggest mistake the government of the United States has made, and the biggest offense they have done to the Mexican people.
I think it's excellent. I think if it stops the marijuana flow in Los Angeles and the southern cities, I think it's excellent. If it doesn't, then I think our time is wasted.
Although more than 5 million American and Mexican citizens passed through this dragnet, practically no marijuana was intercepted. After 3 weeks, Operation Intercept was abandoned.
Tengo los varitos, over. ¿Has traído la salsa caliente? Over. Sí, es muy sabrosa, over. También, vámonos a un picnic, de ver el sitio de picnic.
Now, even more determined to appear tough on crime, Nixon poured federal money into equipping, training, and educating local police forces across America.
In the day-to-day conduct of your police duties, no matter how or for what reason you're called to investigate a situation in a residence, use your eyes to detect evidence of marijuana, hashish, or narcotic violations. The evidence you're looking for is here, all right. But it has to be located before you can read it. Use your eyes. Ashtrays are logical places to use your eyes for evidence of marijuana violations. There are some noticeable differences between a marijuana or grass joint and the butt of an ordinary cigarette, clearly visible even at a distance to those who use their eyes. This, of course, is marijuana itself, the best evidence of all. It has distinctive characteristics. Learn them. Use your eyes. It also has a distinctive aroma, so use your nose as well as your eyes.
Police officer, open the door.
Inside, come on. Incident at 232 West Courthouse Lane.
Look right here.
As arrests skyrocketed, the convictions were no longer limited to minorities. Now most of the people serving time were white, middle-class American kids.
Why do you smoke marijuana?
It's really very simple. I smoke it because I enjoy it.
It doesn't worry you that you're breaking the law?
Sure, it worries me. I mean, it worries me because I don't want to get caught. I do not want to go to jail for something that I can consider a pleasure and harmless to both society and myself. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not hurting myself. Why should I be punished for it?
And you may see me today with a little ego smile. It don't cost very much, but it lasts a long while. Won't you please tell the man I didn't kill anyone? No, I'm just trying to have
When Don Crow was convicted of selling marijuana to an undercover agent, there seemed reason for hope. It was his first offense, after all, and the amount had been small.
Cool. All right. That is a clip from the movie Grass from director Ron Mann and narrated by Woody Harrelson.
Cool.
So it's pretty good documentary. We've shown clips of that many times over the years.
Excellent film.
I know. We run a lot of good films on this show. Last week, in fact, we ran a film, and immediately after that film, I referred to the trailer Park Boys as trailer trash. So I'd like to apologize to anyone who was offended by that.
Appreciate that.
No, you bet.
It's a slip. They were dropping some pretty obscene language there when that came out. So.
They did, but let's move on. I shouldn't have called them trailer trash. I'm sorry. I would like to announce, and I'm very excited about this, the 2011 Hemp Stock Talent Search. The winner of this talent search will receive $1,000. Calling all talent, we need your help. The Hemp Staff Stage Committee is announcing the 2011 Hemp Stock Talent Search. The winner of the contest will take home a $1,000 prize and perform at our event. While we are holding this contest over the past few years, let me say this. We've had hundreds of requests to play our festival. This is always the hardest part of the festival, to make the act list decisions. This year, we've come up with a contest where you and your fans can ensure your act spot on the stage. This is a great way for us to see what the hemp stock community likes, and also to help an act establish their place in the Northwest scene through exposure. The Hemp Stock Facebook page fans are going to choose one act to perform at our festival. The act with the most likes on our page will get the opportunity to perform in front of thousands of people at our Jack Herrera Memorial Stage during the weekend. The time and the duration and the day will be announced. The top act secures their spot and prize, and other acts will also be considered who are in the competition. Submit your best song, your comedy act, or performance to the Hemp Stock Facebook page to be added to the list of entrants. You may also email us at booking@hempstock.org to sign up. We will then submit your recommendation link to our official page for fans to begin voting. It's that simple. Recommend, promote, and vote. Now, the contest ends on May 31st, 2011. The winner will be notified by the Hemp Stock Stage Committee by June 1st, 2011. The event will happen at Kelly Point Park in Portland on September 10th and 11th, 2011. And this is the disclaimer. You must be 18 years of age or older to enter. The winner will have backline provided, the prize to be collected after the performance, and traveling expenses are not provided. Thank you very much.
All right. So we have a caller who's been standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Is that me?
It is. It's
well,
you.
Hey, guys. Hey, this is Willie from Critical Care.
Hey, Willie.
How are you doing?
Hey, yeah, I wanted to put a shout-out to your wife. Boy, she is just such a wonderful human being. I just love
thank you.
her.
I agree.
I bet you do. Hey, I wanted to ask you, last week you had a young person call in that was having trouble with their doctor of giving both the card and the opiate medication.
Right.
Well, here's what's really happening. We can really blame not the doctor because they're being squeezed.
Sure.
My pain management specialist told me last time I saw him, I see him every 2 months down in Eugene, and he said what's happening. He's been writing for me for about 5 years now, and I've been seeing him for 10, and he said that, it's really the Board of Medical Examiners. I guess a couple other people have been shook up down there in Eugene, and they're the ones that are coming down on him. It's an either-or. You either get the pain medication or you get your card written. Right. And so, he's just got to be able to give me all of everything that's wrong with me, because you guys know what's happening with me at home. And
sure.
The thing is that I'm just going to take the paperwork and come into THC Foundation. So I'll be seeing you guys probably in June or July.
We'll be happy to help.
Oh yeah, I know you will. And I just wanted to thank everybody down there that's working. You get every once in a while, thanks. It's usually from Paul and Tim. But really, they do such a hard job, and then they work all week, and everybody just is so wonderful, and thank you guys so much.
Yep, the people in the control room behind the camera and some of the audience members are people who help in our clinic. So
in fact, this is a good time to mention that one of our own was in an accident this last week.
That's right. So we want to send a big get well out to Tekka Hammond, who was hit by a car last Saturday and in the hospital, but fortunately is recuperating well. So, we look forward to having you back here helping us, Tekka.
Yes,
so
we
get
do.
well quick.
Yeah, I also wanted to say something about we're going out to Stony Girls tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully we'll be able to get some of those really hefty indicas. And I don't know if I should put our number on, but we do have some room for some, end-of-life patients or people that are really, really suffering. Would that be a good idea or not?
Go right ahead, Willie.
Okay, it's critical care, and it's 503-777-1920.
All right.
And if they could try not to call us too late, about 5-ish, 6 o'clock is when things are kind of winding down. But there's no cost at all. I mean, if they want to help out, fine. But we don't take patients; we just give it away.
Gotcha.
Right.
And they have a
keep
choice
up
between.
that great work. That's
needed.
Hey, it's it's a
sort of
blessing to us. It's like it's more than a hobby because you know how much work goes into it. But
sure.
We want to get the best to the people so we don't.
Who really need it, especially those folks going through chemotherapy.
Pardon me?
The people who really need it, especially people going through chemotherapy, because they can't wait to get a crop in. And
absolutely.
Everything. I've taken care of a number of folks like that over the years, and I'm glad to see you and other people helping.
Well, thank you so much, and geez, you guys be safe out there.
Thank you.
That was so cool about the cops, how they treated you. Wonderful.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. They arrested
blew my
the thieves and said when thieves broke into our garden about 2 weeks ago, they arrested the thieves and treated us with respect and said they appreciated our work and wanted us to legalize it.
You got to get that video on. We got to see those culprits.
They asked us not to right now, so they're going through their whatever reasons. I'm not sure. So we will though.
All right. Much love to all you.
Thank
all right.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
If you have a question for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4448. We have a little bit of show and tell, as you can probably tell here this week. We're going to start right here with a nice little, not a very big bud, but a little bud. Then here's a nifty combination drug that contains cannabis indica. It's a glycerin phosphate compound with cannabis indica. Then this box is actually the box that this bottle came out of, and there's a little bit of liquid left down in here, but most of it's evaporated through the cork over the past 110, 120 years. It's specific medicine, cannabis extract out of Cincinnati, Ohio. So we have a few bottles like this in our collection. This is one of the nicest ones. Here's one that's been opened and used. Also has a little bit of residue in there. Not as much as this. This one's unopened. Next to it, we have an Eli Lilly bottle. Eli Lilly is a pharmaceutical company that's still around, and this is cannabis extract number 96, one of about a half dozen Eli Lilly products. Next door is something I found just a couple of days ago going through a local grocery store. I saw that recognizable leaf on the health food desk. I've seen a lot of hemp products out there, but none of them have flown the flag and put a big indica leaf on there. Now, I know that these seeds aren't from indica seeds. They're from these specific, very low THC hemp varieties. They have very narrow leaves, but in this case, it's a big indica leaf. And here we have a sunny hemp bar. In fact, I have a couple of sunny hemp bars here that I'm going to give to Tim and to Steve, and you guys try these out while I'm going through the rest of the products here, and you can report on how healthy this is. This is more of the good stuff. Our new improved line of granola bars has all of the organic goodness you've come to expect. Take these sunny hemp bars, for example. Nutty organic hemp seeds and crunchy sunflower seeds blended with good stuff like whole grain oats and flax seeds. It's very good and good for you. All right, next over here we have a embossed bottle. It's D.H. James Cannabis Indica Radix proprietary formula, and so it's right in. This is about 120 years old. This is a dug bottle. It was in the ground, and it's got a little bit of mineralization from something in the dirt that's seeped into it. But there are a number of these out there, and then we also have a couple of these, and this is another full bottle of Linden's Cough Balsam with alcohol and cannabis indica, also with chloroform. So it will really knock you out. And it's got about 13 different languages on this. This is a product from Plymouth, Pennsylvania. And then last but not least, right over here, we'll have to back off a little bit. And this is tree-free eco paper, lined notebook paper. This is a product that I produced way back in the early 90s, and I couldn't keep this one in demand. I only have a few packages like this left. I imported hemp paper, and if you go to the Great Book of Hemp out there, it will say that my company, this one here, Tree-Free Eco Paper, was the first company to import hemp products into North America back in 1992. And that's on page 3 of the Great Book of Hemp. So there it is. I wish I had more of it. One of these days we'll make some more.
That's it.
So what do you guys think about those hemp bars?
They're good. Very tasty.
All right. All right.
Actually, they're good. The consistency is nice and even throughout. There's no big or little chunks. It's all about the same size. It seems to be a little sweetened.
Hemp seed, sunflower seed, and raisins with all the omega-3s you need for good health. We have a phone call. Welcome to our show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello, how are you?
Very well. How about yourself?
Good, good, good. Hey, Paul, I've heard you talk before on other shows about your preference for a growing situation to have people's caregiver cards versus the grower card.
Well, you know, you're limited in Oregon. You know, it changes from state to state. So we're talking about Oregon's law. And Oregon's law says that there are 3 types of card: a caregiver card, a grower card, and a patient card. So you can only have 1 patient card, but the law, as established in 2005, I think it was House Bill 1085, that limited growers to 4 cards. So though I take care of 35 or so patients as their caregiver, I can only be the grower for 4 people. So usually I just have the patient remain their own grower. I wouldn't say that's a preference. That's just what's forced upon us. I think
so
my preference would be that there wouldn't be any limitation, that patients could grow together. My preference is actually that it should be completely legal, and people should be able to grow their own without a license or a fee, and we should see the sales of seeds and starts of all strains of cannabis completely unregulated. And I've created a template to do just that with our bill, the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act, and you can find out more about it by going to that website there on your screen, cannabistaxact.org. Right now we're going through the ballot title production process. We turned in 2,200 signatures back on January 4th, and we expect to be able to start petitioning for the ballot in November 2012, sometime this spring. We hope to break the record when it comes to the earliest petition ever turned in Oregon state history, which was set back in 1985 by the Oregon Marijuana Initiative, which I had worked on as well. And they turned in October of '85 for a vote in November of '86. So
yeah, and you know, Paul, there's nothing we all can say, but you guys have done a great, great job. My minor daughter started when she was 14. She's 20s now. We know what great things you guys have all done and are continuing to do. We sure do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, what I was going to ask you was, on the caregiver, is there any advantage on that? I mean, I've been with you guys for years and
well,
years.
you know, technically you can have more cannabis if you need to. You know, sometimes I'll harvest the plants and move them from one location to another. So during that period, you know, I'm licensed to have that many, that much, you know, patients' cannabis.
What's the address that they put on the grower card?
Wherever we tell them to.
The patient wants the
you know,
wherever
we have the patient that we work with set it up in as a cooperative garden, and so that's how we work with that. It goes into one of our 2 gardens.
What about the caregiver?
You just put down there's one grower at one grow site address, and then the caregiver has whatever address they have.
Gotcha. So the grow site is always the same.
Well, you know, no, we have 2 different ones if they're growing with us, but yeah. I mean, you know, you need to have one card for at least every 6 plants. You need to have one patient set that up. And that's how it is in Oregon law. I know up in Washington, Steve's from Washington, you can have 15 plants per patient.
I've got their card too. However, I've just had a 5th person ask me if I would do it, and now I'm just trying to,
Oh, I understand. Okay. Yeah, that's the way, is to just make the patient their own grower, and you're working in a cooperative with them.
Okay, so they're the grower, and that's where the grow site is.
Yeah, you just say where the grow site is, and
but even if it's
there's
not
no
there?
limit on an address, the number of patients that can cooperatively grow.
But what if it's
The real
not
fear
at-
is the federal government and them coming in to enforce federal law.
Right.
And
keep it under 100.
well, there's several stages to federal law. One of them is when you go from 99 plants to 100. First-time offenders, that's the difference between 2 and 5 years. For someone like myself with 2 previous cannabis crimes under my belt, they would consider that to be like a life in prison for someone like me, but without the possibility of parole. But that's under federal law, and they have to find a jury to convict you, and that's the other step in that process. It's kind of a highly stressful situation, though.
You and I, I'm sure, both know that you only get about 10% that are going to say guilty, not guilty. In that court of law.
I think it's something like only 1 out of 20 go to trial. Less than 1 out of 20. It might be 1 out of 50 cases go to trial, or even less than that, I believe.
Steinberg born myself, and we got that guy. Know that information, unfortunately.
All right. Well, thanks for the calls and questions. We're down to just about 6 minutes to go here. So.
Okay. As far as the crackdown with the physicians, they pretty much don't like it either. But it's the Oregon AMA that's the one putting the pressure.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Governor Kitzhaber likes us and doesn't like our doctors and things, and his reelection was not a good thing for medical marijuana in this state. Let's put it that way.
Hey, thanks, Paul, for the time. You have a good night. And
thank you.
Thanks for all you're doing again.
All right, we appreciate it. We're down, just have about 6 minutes to go, so if you have a question or call, you can reach us at 503-288-4448. We have a question from a studio audience member, and I want to remind you, if you'd like to come down to our studio audience, we're live almost every Friday night at 2766 Northeast MLK, or Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Go right ahead, Ron.
So I can barely drink alcohol because I don't have a very good stomach, and Super Bowl Sunday is coming up, and at the Super Bowl party we're turning some of our medical marijuana into recreational marijuana. It's kind of on the down low, so don't tell anybody, but
we'll just keep it between you and like our 50 to 100,000 viewers.
Yeah,
no one else.
We just got a new volcano, and it's gonna be a good party.
I understand.
All right, well, go
There
team.
you go.
What is it? It's the Bears and the Steelers, right? No, the Green Bay Packers and the Steelers.
There you go.
Maybe that's it. That's it.
Bears tried, but they stumbled.
failed.
Yes, Packers got them.
We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hi. I was wondering if you could advise me on a product that would help me pass a drug test. I'm trying to get a job, and it's been a problem for me.
The best thing is to go without smoking for about 30 days before you have the drug test. There are several Clear Choice, several products out there. There's a brand named Clear Choice. There's Golden Seal Root Extract is a diuretic you could take about 3 hours before you take the test. None of these things are guaranteed, though. The best thing you can do is to just go without for at least 30 days before that drug test.
I don't think I could handle that.
I wish I could tell you something better, but that's the way it is.
Root's fairly sure bet, or just
Say that again?
is Golden Root a pretty sure bet on that? I mean,
I've heard good things and I've heard bad things. So no, I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to lead you astray, and I would just say the best thing is to go without for about 30 days if you've got to go through drug testing.
Oh, okay.
All right, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's kind of like I said, we've come from being the land of the free to being the land of the pea. So, Steve, you're going to start with the first your first column in the Seattle Weekly.
The first column will appear on the web at 4:20 Tuesday afternoon. It'll be in Seattle Weekly on the Wednesday paper, February 9th.
Okay, and can you tell us who you're going to review? This is going to be a dispensary review?
The first column will be kind of an introduction to tell what the idea is, to put the framework in place, and the reviews will start with the second column on the 16th.
I know advertising of dispensaries and ancillary cannabis-based businesses has become big business for a lot of weeklies, especially the Westward and all the magazines down in California, so this will probably help advertising revenue there for the Seattle Weekly.
It probably will, and that is becoming a real factor for a lot of papers. It's tough times out there for print journalism, and one of the few bright spots in that is medical marijuana advertising.
Would you like to say anything else about your groundbreaking website, Toke of the Town, which is in conjunction with Village Voice Media?
I just would like to invite everybody to check it out. The people who have done so far have given some really good feedback, and I think you will like it, tokeofthetown.com.
In less than a year, you went from nothing, from a startup, and now more people are looking at your website than look at High Times magazine. So you're one of the biggest media sources for cannabis news now.
60,000 hits January 2010 and 500,000 January 2011.
That's pretty darn good. Well, congratulations, and
Thank you.
Good luck for your future success. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for your support for our mutual cause. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
I want to remind our viewers out there that we are working to end adult marijuana prohibition. So if you can help us, go to our web portal there at hemp.org and find out about our work on that. Also, if you or a loved one are looking for help finding a doctor who can help you get a medical marijuana permit, we have doctors all across the country. We can refer you to doctors in every medical marijuana state. So call us at that toll-free number, 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. If you're here in the Portland area, you can call us at 503-235-4606. I want to thank you for watching. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp. Good night.
See you next week, folks. And we're off the air.